Plastic bars wanna copy my steel.
Got my heart no in the bed. Break you in then.
All right, you know that was badass. We gotta run that back real quick.
Plastic bars wanna copy my steel.
Got my heart no in the bed. Break you in then.
Wow, guys. GadgetBot did an amazing job with Talos. In fact, I think that this is one of the characters that I am most excited to show you his evolution because I had a lot of creative input in this character. We're going to talk about all of that. But first things first, let's just start from the beginning because there's a lot to cover here. Talos was already a pretty cool character, and he's one of the playable characters in the game, and you might have noticed that he has these two AI bots that follow him around, and they shoot out lasers. He's a mid-range attack character. And he can also fly. In fact, we see him flying in the WAGMI Defense cinematic trailer. Right there he is right there flying. But, you know, with Talos, I was always worried when you do a character with wings, there's so many characters with wings. How do you really make him stand out? And although he is cool, I just always felt like he didn't stand out enough because his wings are stationary. And then as far as his AI bots, I always wish that they docked somewhere on his armor or in his armor because that's much cooler than them just following him around everywhere, right? Like there's going to be some instances where he's going to need to put those things away if he's on a mission. So keep all that in mind. You're going to see all that come to life as we talk about the character even more. But before we dive in, let's go over his backstory. General Talos presides over the first major armada of the WAGMI military. He successfully helped the Emperor thwart the surprise attack of the first Grey Alliance invasion. He grew up in New Egypt, where he encountered a supernatural being that endowed him with heightened consciousness, and a metalloid cube that he discovered was the ancient armor of Horus, the alien known to the ancients as Horus the God. His armor is equipped with wings and AI bots called Obixum that are loyal to the armor and its owner. So there was a lot to play with there, and you're going to see a lot of this brought to life by GadgetBot as we move forward. But in case you guys don't know much about ancient Egypt, the reason why you're going to see a lot of bird representation on his armor is because Horus is a god in the form of a falcon, whose right eye was the sun or morning star, representing power and quintessence, and whose left eye was the moon or evening star, representing healing. And you're going to see these eyes come to life in the costume as well. And so let's just jump right in our humble beginnings right here. We know what Talos looks like. And then this was the first variation we got from GadgetBot. And we actually had a lot to say right away when we saw this because it just looked like Talos had, you know, some really cool armor and a few really big bugs following him around. They were like, no. We need to change that. And so when GadgetBot came back with the first round, right, that was just like the initial, hey, let's see what we can do all the characters. They came back with this first round. We're like, okay, now you guys are on the right track. And there was a lot of things that we liked here. And they, right out of the gate, they were trying to figure out what to do with the drones to not only make them look cool, but also tie them into the armor and the lore of the character. So over here, his drones almost look like the eyes of Horus, and you can see those represented on his shin pads down here as well. And you can see a lot of like the Egyptian art brought into his wings here. And then the character on the right, the same thing, artwork on the wings. His chest piece is already starting to form a falcon. You can see these two blue orbs are actually the eyes. But we didn't really care for these drones. So we're like, no, get rid of those drones. And then another thing right out of the gate too that we talked about is we really want to make sure, because he's going to have like some kind of metal wings and a suit, we do not want Archangel vibes from X-Men. I feel like a lot of characters end up looking kind of like Archangel, especially if they have metal wings. We did not want that to happen here. We wanted a totally original character. And so when they came back with round 2 of the sketches, this is what we got. And we thought that there was some really cool additions here, okay? One of the ideas that I had was for the AI bots, instead of them floating, what if they docked inside the wings? And that's what you can see right here. The AI bots docking inside. See, it says drone port. And then they started giving us some different designs of the drones to try to figure out which one we liked best. And so we had like just a random drone design for A. For B, they took the Ankh, right, which is really popular in ancient Egypt. You guys have seen the symbol before, I'm sure. And then down here, the crown of Isis, which is Horus's mother. And we ended up going with that one. So you're going to see this one in further sketches. But the armor, we just told them they kept doing what they were doing. We're like, you know what? We like the direction you're going in. You're bringing a lot of those bird elements into the armor. Just keep going with it. And I really like the fact that they didn't give him a helmet. You actually can really see that he has an Egyptian heritage, and it's all being brought to life in not only his armor, but in his look as well. And I really like the blue coming out of his eyes. It ties all the armor together. So as we moved into sketch 3, that's when a lot of the gold was brought in. And when they brought in the gold and it clashed with the blue, we were like, hell yes, this looks friggin' awesome. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep fleshing out that armor. I mean, look at these plates on his hips. It all just looked so friggin' amazing, right? You can tell this guy can fly. And then they came with this really cool idea. So we said, yeah, we want the drones to dock on the wings. And so A was kind of like the original idea, right, that you saw here. But B, when they came back, they said, well, what if the drones dock on the wings and the wings themselves were made up of even more drones? Because we didn't want the wings visible all the time. We wanted there to be some sort of ability for him to retract his wings. And so if the rest of the wings are made up of all these drones, then once they go away, the wings are much smaller, then they can retract, and then for the most part, they're hidden, right? And he can, get into tighter spaces. And so we liked that idea. But there was way too many drones here. So we're like, okay, this is good. Let's do less drones. And so they came back with 6 drones, which I thought was perfect, 3 on each side, just making up the bottoms of the wings. And then we were still playing with what exactly to do with the main 2 drones, the AI bots that dock on the top, right? So you can see over here, they're kind of just placed on the top. And then here, they're kind of made more into the form of the wing. And as we progress, they become more and more inside the form of the wing versus placing them there. Because what I didn't like about this was as soon as those orbs come out, the wings would just look weird, right? You would just have like these wings with these missing, parts on the top. And he needs to still be able to fly, even if he doesn't have the AI bots or the 2 main bots that are shooting the lasers. Like if those need to leave and go do stuff, he still needs to be able to fly. And so we moved into the next rendition. They closed the top of the wings and then basically made it so that the bots can dock there, but when they're gone, that blue energy just fills the void and he can still fly, which is no problem. And then this is really cool. This was my idea. I'm so proud of this, guys, okay? So as you can see here, they had 3 on each side, and then my eyes immediately went to his waist, and I was like, dude, what if these drones docked on these plates right here? That way, when his wings retract, it would be like this cool motion of the wings retracting and the drones just going right to his waist. And then when his wings go out, the drones, because the wings and the drones line up perfectly. So as the wings go out, the drones come out. Like, it's music to my ears if it actually happens. And so they came back and they changed the design of the drones so that when they're docked, they look like they're a part of the armor. And I was like, dude, this is freaking sick, right? Like, this is an original character with wings. And look at his chest piece. He's got the falcon there, right? We talked about that earlier. Even more detail on the face. Like, everything was just coming together so good. And then they came back with this. And it was so weird to me because they're like, okay, guys, here's the final sketch for Talos. And then we worked on a couple other characters. And then we said, okay, let's finish up Talos now. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks later. And then they come back with this variant of Talos, and we were all just like, wow, this is just insane. And so they have the original down here, right, with a lot of different changes and things they were doing. They have this variant down here, and then this one, it's the same character, it's the same design, but just more beautifully thought out. Like, this is a beautiful character, and I don't use that word often. I think the only ever time I say something is beautiful is if I'm talking about my wife or my car. This is a beautiful character. He just looks absolutely incredible. And then when they came in, they punched in more detail. I mean, the wings, it's like, how did GadgetBot make these wings look like angel wings or bird wings, and at the same time, they're still mechanical, right? Like, from far away, you're like, oh, those look like angel wings. And then you zoom in, and you're like, oh, wow, they're actually mechanical wings. This is badass. And so the only differences really between A and B was, did we want to do his final pose just standing there looking cool with the drones docked on his hips here, which they're little falcon faces. It looks so cool, right? The eyes of horse down here on his shins look so cool. Or did we want to have them out and about? And we chose to go with out and about because it just looks so damn badass, right? And you can also see a side angle here of the AI bots docked in the wings with the big orb coming out, right? Everything just looks so friggin' cool. And this isn't the final variation, but this is pretty close. This was round 8. And the character, I mean, everything we loved that was already here, just the detail punched in even harder. I mean, look at the claws on the feet. Looks so damn cool. Like, just the right amount of glowy blue all over the armor. You can see on his biceps. You can see in his forearm, on his claws. You can see the falcon eyes and the nose, right? And then this little subtle blues in the wings. It just came out so great. And then the final version, what was added here was a bit more detail on the eyes. Here, I'll punch in there. You can see the eyes got a bit more detail. But of course, we had to make sure we added that Wag Me W. And you might not have noticed it, but it's right here on top of his left arm. So guys, that's Talos. Talos is a badass. I cannot wait to see this version of Talos in the game. And if you can't either, make sure you click that like button. Make sure you subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next video.